of 7 Acre Farms here. And I made notes because if I don't make notes, I'm a college professor by day, and so I will bore you to death and talk your ear off. And so I will try not to do that. Talk just a little bit about how we got started. I don't know where everybody is kind of in your journey, but we started selling in 2016 just vegetables, produce. We'd always had a little home garden and whatever. And so in 2016, we both had the opportunity to start a bigger garden. And so we started doing the farmer's market booth here in Tuttle. And as we were doing that, we got a lot of questions like, do you can, what else do you have? And so in that, we saw there was really this desire to buy canned products. At the time, the law still required the kind of full commercial or nothing. And so we thought, we're smart people, we can figure this out. And so 2 years later, we actually did figure it out and took the products you see over here on this table. I've kind of set it up. This is similar to what, if we have a farmer's market booth or a festival booth, what it kind of looks like. But right now our products include a spicy dill pickle, a regular dill pickle, and salsa verde. And then these products came along kind of later for sale, and those are the ones we do in like home canning. Our big philosophy, I think, is everything in the jars we want to either grow or get from someone local that grows it. And so that's really important to us, even with the commercial canning. And then number 2 is we want to make sure it's still fun. We have day jobs, and so eventually I think in retirement this will become our full-time thing. But for now, it really was just about making sure we keep it fun, because it can be so easy to go too big too quick and just be miserable. And so we've done that a couple times where we scheduled too many events, too many things, and it started to not be fun. So that's kind of our philosophy in terms of all of this. The process basics, if you want to go like full commercial, barcode, kind of sell it Crest grocery store if you want to, that process, essentially you have your recipe, your process, you fill out what's pretty simple paperwork. Take 6 samples to Oklahoma State, and they kind of evaluate it. You hopefully come out with what's called a process authority letter from that, and that is what you can use to take to a co-packer. We're really fortunate that we have a co-packer in Mustang that is fantastic, S&S Foods, and so they put up with a lot of stuff from us because, again, we want to grow everything. Everything in the pickle jars, every single cucumber we grew right here and picked ourselves. Every dill head in those jars, we picked ourselves. We have so many freezers because we have to freeze dill over the winter. So that's kind of the process stuff. The only issue we've ever had with the process stuff is finding somebody to do a canned product that requires a water bath. That seems to be pretty limited still in the state of Oklahoma, and so we've had to go away from a couple of our products because the person that was water bathing has went away, and there's not really a replacement for them at this point. But as long as you can put it hot in a jar and it'll seal up and be safe, life is good. So right now, our kind of just overall business, to give you a sense of kind of what we do, we still do the farmer's market. So the farmer's market, we have our fresh produce, we have the commercial canning, we have the home canning, and then we're just starting to break into soaps and lotions. That's our new kind of experiment right now. Then we do boutique-y grocery store, antique malls kind of places. And for the most part, that's still just our commercial stuff. There's a couple places now that the laws have changed that we will sell our home canning. And then larger retail kind of places that need the full barcode, do not want to put up any signs that say this was home canning stuff. They don't want to do those things. So like Williams Grocery here in Tuttle carries it, Ross Seed and Chickasha, some of those more commercial type places. We sell our commercial products. And then we do festivals. So we, and still for the festivals, we still do mainly just our commercial canning for the festivals. So we do the Miko Honey Festival, the Czech Festival. We sit in a lot of fields and schlep pickles on people. So we do about 8 to 10 festivals a year, again, because we work full time and want to also do other things. So we do a few festivals though, and those are really good. The only reason we haven't done our home canning, and this is something, if you're thinking about this, is home canning is good. That's right. You can bring a lot of variety of product in a way that kind of the cost of getting the process authority letter can be expensive. The issue is volume though. Do you have the time to sit in your own kitchen and, I mean, for us, on a great day, we can can maybe 4 cases or 48 jars of something that requires, chopping the vegetables and heating it and all the things that go into canning. So that's really why we haven't. For us, that would make it the teeter-totter go the wrong direction in terms of fun. And so, for the most part, just the commercial canning. I know it's like taboo to talk about money, but at the end of the day, you kind of want to know. Right? Like, how much does it cost to do that? I will tell you how much it costs. So, the big jars of pickles, so those are quarts of pickles. Our co-packer charges us about $3 per jar for those. And we pay 5 cents a label. And so we have Keystone Labels. It's a local company that produces labels. They produce the labels. They send them to S&S Foods. S&S Foods has been great. They helped us with like the nutritional facts and the barcode and some of those details. So that's a good relationship. But so total cost, and then about 20 cents a jar for growing the cucumbers. There's still real cost. There's blood, sweat, and tears, and then probably about 20 more cents that go into that. Right. So they're about $3.25 a jar to produce, and we can sell them between $10 and $12. Our goal is a 50% markup, but the pickles we do a lot better on, and again, it's the sweat equity that's in them that helps. Yeah.
What are you making your soap out of?
The soap, the ingredients are on there. Some of them are tallow, others are like coconut oil and some of those kinds of things. So.
Are you doing any goat or?
No goat. We looked into the goat, but we do the lotion, and that's an all tallow based, and so we kind of stuck with what we have kind of access to. It can be hard to find goat milk too. And then my parents have goats, and then I looked at like what it would require to actually milk one, and I thought, again, fun factor is going down, so we're not. I wasn't in on that, but you can have a chance in a second to come up and look, and feel free to look at all the ingredients and all of that. So $3.25 for the pickles. When we sell them wholesale, so if we sell them retail direct to you, we make about 75% profit on them, which is pretty solid. But for wholesale, which is less time, right? All I have to do is give Williams Grocery the case, and life goes on. That's more like about a 40% profit, so it goes down a little bit. For the home canning, if you look at our pasta sauce, we grow every single tomato, all the herbs that go in it, the zucchini, everything that goes into that jar we grew last summer. And so with about a pound of tomatoes, which we could sell, you're looking at $1 a jar, because I can't buy 10,000 jars at a time like S&S Foods does. So I'm at the Walmart, like clearing the shelf. So with the $1 a jar, 5 cents for the labeling, $2.50 maybe market value in veg, and we can sell the shorter jars for about $6 to $8, depending on where we are, to give you an idea. So still a decent profit, but certainly a little less than the commercial stuff. And just as a comparison, the salsa verde is one that it's not hot enough in Oklahoma to grow those very effectively, and so we do source the tomatillas, and those are almost exactly the same price as the pickles are from S&S Foods, so about $3.25, but we can only get about $6 to $8 a jar, so the profit margin's a little lower with those. So I think it just is, your time, where you want to sell them, all of those things that you have to kind of factor in. We have, on the home canning, we have pasta sauce, we have blackberries. I think you saw the blackberry farm, Justin, today. Those came from his farm, the syrup. We made it with his stuff. And then we have sand plums. We grow sand plums here on our property. So we sold, interesting. So this isn't necessarily for sale. This is out of my pantry. But this is blackberry cobbler filling. This is a lesson we learned, and we love the farmer's market, if for no other reason, is it is such a great product testing environment. And so we made all the cobbler filling, and we were like, this is gonna rock, we're gonna sell these, it's awesome. And we had a guy come up, and we were like, yeah, you used to buy a pie crust, right? You just buy a pie crust, dump it in, you got a cobbler, life is good. And he's like, well, I ain't gonna do that. I'm like, okay. So people not willing to dump food into, all right, I got that. Message received. And so we started actually selling blackberry cobblers at the farmer's market. But it's just, you learn a lot that.
Ice cream topping. That's what
Yes, absolutely. Every day. I mean, let's face it, it's ice cream. So I could put a lot of things on ice cream, but blackberries, you are not going to go wrong. Marketing wise, we've just made sure, like over the years, we've kind of gotten better and better, but there's a ton of online retailers to make things for you. Keystone Label made our logo and allow us to use it wherever we want to use it. And so this is kind of the setup. So just picking a color and a theme that makes you stick out at places, that's all important. We try to be, we're not as good as we should be, but we try to do a lot of social media posts. People want to kind of see what you're doing, and we always get a lot of buzz, usually right after we've done something that gets people excited about it. Then we have a website. We used, if you're tech savvy at all, we used one of the services that kind of have templates, so we use GoDaddy, but there's 1,000 out there. This is not a commercial for them. That's just who we use. Just to have information, and people will be asking for those sorts of things. So I'll turn it over to you, and then we can do questions afterwards.
Sure. Thank you.
Yeah, that's great.
For those of you who have not met me this morning, my name is Andrea Graves. I'm a business planning and marketing specialist at the Robert M. Kerr Food and Agricultural Product Center, also known as the Food and Ag Product Center, or FAPC. Have any of you come? I know I've seen some faces that have been there, but have any of you been to our facility? One. Okay. Well, we've got a couple of you, of course. We are located on the OSU campus in Stillwater. If you know the campus at all, it's we're kind of attached to the food science and animal science building, and across the street is the old Ag Hall. But we are a facility that helps food manufacturers. Now, I can't tell you how to make a hoop house or how healthy your soil is. That's not us. We are at the point where I grew a tomato. What can I do with that tomato afterwards? Or I have something, or I just have an idea and I'd like to do some further processing or find a product like what they did, like they do. They do a nice job. We help you with that. We have about 96,000 square feet of processing space. We have about 18 faculty and staff that work at our center. Everything from marketing folks like myself to we have a fruit and vegetable processing specialist that is the process authority letters. We have a meat specialist. We have a milling and baking specialist. We have food engineers. We have microbiologists. I mean, just about anything you can think of that has to do with food processing, that's where we help. A lot of things that I do there is, I was telling you, if you were sitting at the back of the bus, you probably already heard what my speech here, but I do a lot of project leading. You know, any kind of project that comes through, anybody has a call, usually goes through the marketing team, and we lead whatever that problem or issue is. We work with a lot of entrepreneurs. That's a lot of what I do, but we also work with the medium to the large food processors as well, like Brahms. We're right in Brahms country. We know them, we work with them, all the way to somebody like yourself that I know there's a couple people that they're not in this group, but anyway, that have done some further processing. But if you're thinking about wanting to do something like what they're doing or whatever your idea might be, give us a call. We get calls all the time. I've got the world's greatest fill in the blank, and what do I do? My friends and family say it's so good. What do I go for? What do I start? So we have a whole process that helps from beginning to end, because we want to tell you the truth, because she makes it look easy over here, like, bamboo, look at this.
Yeah.
Look at all these pretty things, and they're delicious. There's a lot of work that goes into it. The first thing we have you do is go through what's called basic training for food entrepreneurs. If you want to go through and do a commercial business like what they're doing, but we also do training for if you're looking to maybe just dabble into it and go into the Homemade Food Freedom Act. We do a ton of different trainings. Those are some things that we go through, all the way to food safety, auditing, processing, you name it. We have something for it. I'm going to give you a handful of stuff when we get back into the bus. I won't make you guys carry this around, but if anybody is interested in meat processing, we know that there has been a lot of interest, and nobody really knows how to process meat. So FAPSI, we got a grant, last year was the first year, where we will pay you $2,000, a $2,000 stipend to come for about 4 weeks in May-ish, for 4 weeks, and you get to learn hands-on how to process meat. That goes from, you get to do buffalo, you get to do cattle, all kinds of stuff. It's fantastic. So if you know anybody that's maybe looking to do that for a career, they can sign up for this. Let's see, what else? At the center, we will guide you if you're starting out with something like, when's the right time to get a nutrition fact panel? Do I need a logo? How do we know that my process is safe to eat? What's my shelf life? All these things we help you with. And often, like I said, the first thing we do is we have you go through that basic training class where we talk about, we have the health department says, here's what you kind of have to know a little bit about some of the rules. We talk about making sure you trademark your name, because hopefully they did that. I assume you did. We probably taught you that. You might be Liz's Pickles. There might be another Liz's out there. So we want to make sure you go through things the right way, the right time. We work a lot with the Made in Oklahoma programs. I serve on the board over there of the coalition. And I've worked with probably, I'd say, around at least 95% of all Made in Oklahoma products our center has. Not so much with the Homemade Food Freedom Act, because it's been just kind of, people are just diving into it and they don't always know we're around. But I would love to have you reach out to me if we can help you with anything at all. But we're here to help, and there's nothing else quite like it anywhere else. We're lucky to have this center. I've been there about 17 years, and you just never know what's coming in the door. There's always something new, different kind of problems. And I work with people. I just don't work with them one time and then they're on their way. There's folks that started off at basic training, and I'm still talking to them, 12, 15 years later, because just because you have a product that looks great on the shelf doesn't mean your problems go away. You get more problems, and just things evolve, as you know, in a business. So, but we're here to help. We are here primarily for Oklahoma companies. We will help those that are outside the state, but they have to pay significant fees because they are not doing development, and they don't pay taxes here in Oklahoma. But if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. But we're a resource, and I just want to make sure you all know you can reach out to us. And you could come for a tour. We do those on Wednesdays if you want to come. It's about a 45-minute tour of our whole facilities. Any questions for either of us? That's all I have. No. Okay.
Feel free to come up. I've got samples too if you want to try anything.
We are very pleased with the pasta sauce. I mean, everything in that jar, like she said, we grew. And we have people asking us to go with, commercial. I'm sure she told you. We just can't, because we're going to lose the quality if we don't grow those tomatoes ourselves. So that's like our reserved batch that only the special people get. So, okay, I'm going to start with just talking about some tools that we use, some of our favorite tools. Since it's just Liz and me doing all of this, and we have about a half an acre in gardens, we have to figure out how to do things effectively without killing ourselves, right? Those of you who have lower back pain, that's something you want to avoid. So, I don't know if any of you have a seed planter. I love this thing. Love this thing. So it comes with all of these different plates. So if you're going to plant sweet corn or beans or beets, there's a plate for every type of seed. And then you put it in here, and as you roll this, it rotates it and it spits the seed out at the exact spot that it needs to be placed. It's fantastic. So if you're getting into that, I definitely recommend it. I think it costs about $125 for this plus all the plates, but my parents still have theirs, and I think it's probably 50 years old, and it still works perfectly. So if you're like us, we have Black & Decker, and we have about 40 batteries. So anytime we're going to buy something new to help us, we always go, does Black & Decker sell it? Because we have the batteries already. So we bought this last year. So we're not no-till, but we're low-till. And so, because I don't really super enjoy hoeing at all, we decided to give this a go. So it's battery powered, and it's just a little hand tiller, so you can do it in between the plants. It aerates the soil. Love it. Totally recommend it. And then the hula hoe. Has anybody heard of the hula hoe? Okay. So I grew up on a farm, and we had a very large garden. And from the age of 4, I've been hoeing. And like I said, I hate hoeing. This is just so much better, because with this you can go backwards and forwards, and it pulls the roots up, and it just you don't need as much muscle power for this one. So if you love hoeing, you stick with that wonderful hoe that you have. If you hate it, but you know you need to do it, you might give that one a try. Our newest one, we haven't even used it yet, and this is how crazy and nerdy we are. We're actually very excited to get to use it. It is a Black & Decker battery-powered sprayer. So if you have a backpack sprayer and you're doing the pumping, it will wear you out, right? So we're going to get this one a go that is battery-powered, because we try to be as organic as possible, and so we use fish fertilizer for our plants, and so that's what we'll end up putting in this sprayer when we're ready to fertilize our plants. Then we have a small tiller, hand tiller, that this goes behind it, and we just use this one because we just planted our seed potatoes, and it pulls behind the tiller and it creates a furrow, and then we put our seed potatoes in it. Then you can go use this with its wings out. You can go next to your row, and it'll throw dirt on top, because as the potatoes start to come up, you need to put a little bit more dirt on them. So this does it for you, which is nice. Any questions on any of that? Everybody good? Okay. So something that I like to do is I like to experiment every year. What can we try? What can we see what's out there? Something that's new. And the newest that we're going to try is blackstrap molasses as a fertilizer. Has anybody heard of this?
No.
So it's really new. So you have to get unsulfured, and when we do something, we go big. So we ordered a 5-gallon bucket. It's supposed to be here, I don't know, whenever the FedEx guy gets here. And it is going to feed the microbials that are already in your soil. And if you can strengthen those, they will then strengthen your plant and help you really grow healthier produce, essentially. Because if you see our gardens, they're that bright orange that Oklahoma's known for, at least this area. So we have a high content of iron in our soil that we're constantly battling with. And then, because we're so lucky, we have some of the hardest water in the state of Oklahoma. It's been tested. So whenever we water, our plants get too much calcium from the water. So we're constantly having to figure out how to help our soil balance itself out. And I'll be talking about the different techniques that we've tried. Another experiment we're doing, we have this bed that we've put in, and we have planted spinach in it. And if any of you have ever planted spinach and lettuce, you know the bugs get way more than their fair share. So what we've done is we've put a border of kale, and we're going to see Supposedly it will be a sacrificial plant, that the bugs will go for the kale and they'll leave the spinach alone. So I hope that works, because we planted spinach for the fall and we didn't get to harvest any because the bugs got all of it. So I hope that one works for sure. Okay, now we'll walk to the gardens. So something that we tried, an experiment, was we tried the black cloth. Rita, our friend in Mustang, Rita Payne, some of you may know her. She has hoop houses. She does a lot of strawberries. She loves the black cloth. So we said, okay, well, we want to try it. It didn't work for us. We did not buy the attachment for the tractor for it to lay out. And again, half an acre of gardens with just 2 people, the labor was just too intense. And you have to get on your knees to then put all the staples in. I blew my elbow out doing all of that. And the weeds were able to come up through where all the holes were for the staples. It just didn't work for us. Again, it works for others. We let that one go. Something though that we are really excited about is the native grasses, and you can see the remnants. A couple of months ago, they were completely covered, as thick as we could get them. Every October, we will go around our property because luckily we have 15 acres of all native grasses, which is super rare in Oklahoma. So I'm a history professor at OCCC, and whenever we came to this property, when we saw it was for sale, there was nobody here. There were no houses, there was nothing. It was completely raw. There was a dirt road that they had just put in, and that was it. So whenever we applied to buy the land, you may have heard of a clouded title. Has anybody heard of that? I had never heard of that. And so I said, okay, well, I don't know what that means. And being native myself, the woman said, well, it's dead Indian land. And I went, I don't like what you're saying. What are you saying? Well, essentially this was an allotment from the Dawes Act. Some of you know about that, 160 acres. It went to a native woman who died before she could get here. Squatters took over the land and then just basically stole it. And then the U.S. government made squatting legal. And then they got a title to the land. Well, now the Indian nations are not okay with that. And so we actually had to have a lawyer go to the Chickasaw Nation, because that's where we are, and offer the land back to them. And our lawyer said, if they want it back, there's nothing that we can do. I was like, okay, I get it. And they said, no, we're good. There's nothing there. We can't build a casino there, so we're good. So they cleared the title and we were able to purchase it. And because we kind of led the way, we then helped our neighbors do the same. So when we got here and we noticed, you see all the terraces? And if you follow the terraces, they wrap all the way around for as far as you can see. So probably some of you know 1930s, the Dust Bowl. So farmers were over farming and they were overgrazing, and it was causing terrible erosion. And when it would rain, you can imagine what would happen. All of it is just rushing down and you're losing all the topsoil. So we had a government program that sent people out to farms and put in terraces for the farmers. And so that is naturally why our gardens look the way that they are, because we're terrace farmers. And if you've studied any about the ancient Chinese, they did terrace farming. The Mayans did terrace farming. The Aztecs, all of those. So we took the native grasses that we have growing, which are the bluegrass, the buffalo grass. We also have a little bit of the Kentucky bluegrass. We cut that grass and we will put it on all the gardens. It helps with erosion through the winter, and as the grass breaks down, it actually puts nitrogen into the soil, and it feeds the soil in so many other ways. It has completely changed how our soil reacts. It is looser, it is more moist, it is becoming more of a brown color instead of that really like glow in the dark orange. So we're very excited about that. About 5 years ago, we decided we were going to go to Minnick and we were going to get enough soil, like compost, for all of the gardens. Again, half an acre, about a 1/4 inch thick. That was $2,000. We can't sustain that. We have to figure out how to make it work for us without it breaking us, essentially. So we did that once and we decided that wouldn't work. We then had a woman in town, she's a cattle rancher, and she contacted us and she said, I have so many piles of manure, you can have it all for free if you can just get it to your place. We're like, great. So we hired a trucker, he brought it all here, we were so excited, we put it on the gardens, and come to find out she uses one of the newest pesticides that stays in the soil for 5 years. It wiped out the entire tomato crop, and we plant 400 tomatoes. Wiped them out, killed all of them, killed all of the green beans. The next year, we barely could get a tomato to grow. So it's finally out of the soil, but we didn't know. And we helped other farmers. If you go to Ross Seed in Chickasha, we were there, and this farmer came in with his sad little tomato plant, and he goes, does anybody know what is doing this? And we go, yeah, we actually do know, and you're not going to like the answer. So it's very difficult, and you have to be very aware what you're putting into the soil. And that's why we've gone to the native grasses. We know nothing has been sprayed on our grasses. We know exactly what's getting into our soil. We try to be as organic as possible. We try to be as little pesticide as possible. And any of our fertilizers, like I said, we use the fish fertilizer. We try to be as natural as possible too. Because we're those people like, I want to know what's going into my body. And when we sell it to people, I want to know it's helping their bodies and not hurting them. So you can also see we use a little bit of fertilizer. So that's just your 13-13-13 just to kind of give it a boost. But we're hoping with that sulfur, we can even get away from that and we can just use the unsulfured molasses. Any questions? Everybody good? Yeah.
How do you apply your unsulfured molasses? I didn't hear, I'm sorry.
We're going to use the backpack sprayer.
Oh, okay.
It's just 2 tablespoons per gallon.
Oh, that's not.
No, it's not. So it's pretty potent. So we're excited. Hopefully it works. Any other questions? Okay, we're going to walk around, and as we walk, I'll show you some other things.
We'll have to come back and get all this list. Like you see the grass on the dirt.
So here's another experiment we are trying. We have our seed potatoes planted here, and a farmer in Minko that we know, and we know what's on his crops. We get straw bales from him. So we've put it just on this section. We want to see, does it keep the moisture better so we don't have to water as much? And will it keep the weeds down better so we don't have to hoe as much? I mean, ultimately, that is my goal in life, not to have to hoe. So I hope that one works. Begin to tell you how excited I was when I saw sand plums were growing here. We have several patches on the property, and we ended up picking about 75 pounds last year. So excited. So I was very concerned because you can see they're starting to pop. When we drop, what did we drop down to? 28? Yeah. 25?
They're probably still good.
I hope they're okay. I think it just like touched and came back up.
And if there is any wind, that helps too.
Yes, definitely. So I'm hoping they're okay. Our peach trees, they were blossomed out, but the blossoms still look okay. So, fingers crossed.
Yeah. Not for 8 hours. Well, and those are still tight enough. That shouldn't have to heat. 'Cause that's our peach trees weren't blossomed out. So I'm like, I'm not even worried about our peach trees right now. Now, at this time next week, those will be starting to bloom and we get down to that. Especially if there's no
We also have a small tractor and several implements that make our life just so much easier. We have a tiller, we have a bush hog, and we have this rake helps us rake up once we've cut the native grasses. It helps us get it into piles so that we can then get the native grass onto the trailer. And as you come around, you'll see we have beehives. So the majority of the square footage of our gardens are dedicated to our cucumbers, right? For our commercial pickles and for the dill heads that we have to grow. So last year we had 500 hills of cucumbers. The year before that we had 1,000. Last year we picked 2,400 pounds of cucumbers. The year before that it was 3,600 pounds, and it's just Liz and I. That's a lot of cucumbers for 2 people to have to pick. Last year we did 5,800 heads of dill, because for our quart jar we have 2 heads of dill in each jar. And because that's how we want to do it, my grandmother's recipe is you have to have the dill head, not the mixture, and no dyes, none of that in our food. So we have to grow it all ourselves. Luckily, like Liz told you, our co-packer's just in Mustang, but we have to do all of that in 3 weeks, because if you've grown cucumbers, like, they're ready, let's go. And of course it's going to be in July whenever, you know, you're dying of heat stroke. So without bees though, you don't have cucumbers. And 6 years ago, the cucumbers were ready, like the plants were ready, but there were no cucumbers. And we began noticing, we didn't have bees then, there were no bees. And we found out our neighbor just right here, he sprayed, and it wiped out the bee population for this entire area. So we did not get cucumbers like we needed. So we got into beekeeping. I didn't know it was going to be as hard as it is. We took 2 classes. We bought the Beekeeping for Dummies book. We read it to the bees. They don't care what the books say. You will go up there and go, what are you doing? You're not supposed to be doing that. Look, on page 112, it says you're supposed to be doing. No, they don't care. So you can see 5 hives. That small one, it's gone. They didn't survive the winter. But these other 4, they have survived. And whenever you walk by, you'll see quart jars that we're feeding them sugar water to kind of give them a boost. I'm happy to see the dandelions, because that's the first thing that they can feed on. So we try to, like, please don't spray anything. Just don't. Or if you're going to spray your property, can you wait when there's no wind, which I know in Oklahoma is not really a thing. So it's a constant struggle, because whenever you are surrounded by farmers who spray, you're going to struggle. What works in our favor, in one way that I've been saying doesn't work in our favor, right? With that the soil is not great here. That works in our favor in this, because if you look around, there are no crops. You see, it's just all pasture land, because it is too difficult to raise crops with this soil. So that protects our bees, that we don't have the farmer spraying. So that's a good thing. We're hoping with these 4 come May 1st that they will be so bursting with bees that we'll be able to split all of those to create new hives. And then by June 1st, we'll have 8 hives. We got the bees for the cucumbers. We're always grateful if we ever get any honey, but again, they're not reading the book, and so in 5 years, we've only got to harvest twice for honey. If you've ever had, though, and I'm sure you have, because I hear you went to someone's farm and they gave you honey. If you've ever had real honey versus store-bought, it's amazing. Every year we have a school group come out. There's a food camp that USAO puts on, and I will never forget this young man. He was like, I hate honey. And I'd never heard that before. And I said, well, okay. Well, just try ours and just tell me what you think. He lost his mind. He was like, no, that's not honey. And I said, no, this is what honey is. I don't know what you've been eating, but this is actually honey. And we were talking that a lot of the honey that you buy at Walmart, it's cut with corn syrup to make it go further. So whenever you get real honey, now I know why real honey costs as much as it does after the blood, sweat, and tears that we've, and the number of stings that I've had from these bees, that's been a thing for sure. The 2 classes, they said all you need to do is wear jeans and just get a jacket. You're fine. Just get a jacket with a hood, you'll be fine. So I'm longer bodied than most women, and when I raised my hand, a bee got underneath, stung me on the eyelid. I was at the quick care with my whole face swollen up. So we got the full body suit, because I'm not playing. Like, I don't want to get stung like that ever again. That was awful. So as we walk by, you might be seeing them because now that it's warmer, they'll be out and about. But you don't want to get too close to the hive, as I'm sure you can imagine. It's just like if somebody was trying to come into your house, you would be a little upset. Whenever they're out foraging, I never have been stung because the only time they want to protect themselves is when they're home. When they're out foraging, they're like, you do you, we'll do us. Okay? Everybody good? Questions? Okay. So we also got chickens last year, and anytime we do something, we try to think it all the way through and how it can benefit. So, of course, we get eggs, but then the pine shavings that go in the coop, we then will clean that out twice a year, and we'll put it in our compost bin. We'll let that age for about 6 months, and then we can put that on the gardens to help feed the gardens. We also have an orchard. You can see some of the peach trees are blossoming. And we have apricot trees. You see the raised bed, that's where we have put, we got 24 bundles of onions. When each bundle has 48 onions, I'm not a mathematician, but that's a lot of onions. We were like, oh, it'll take a couple hours. No, it took all day. So, and then these tubs right here, this is where we plant our sweet potatoes.